Hello and welcome back to compiler programming. In the last video we ran into this situation where we needed to export some extra values to be available in the mass module, and this whole setup is a bit awkward in the sense that I need to do it manually and I need to change a bunch of things, and would be nice if it was auto-generated, considering that all of these types are already auto-generated anyway. So this is what I thought I'd do today, and we can just go into our meta.c and start thinking how all of this would work out. So there is this long list of things that are types. Now I don't think I want to export all the types, so maybe what I want to do first is I want to somehow mark the types I want to export. So, and maybe I want to even give them different name. Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's just start with whether they export it or not export it. So, how would I do that? Well, I can maybe just make a function called export. So since this push type is actually returning a meta type, I can just make it something like that. Meta type star type. And I would say exported true. And then I will return the type. So if I want to change this, I can do that as well. Now we don't actually have exported field on the type just yet, so let's do that. Meta type. Alright, so this is the definition. I'm just gonna do bool exported and let's see how is that. It does not actually build. Right, and that is something I did and then forgot to change. So, right, I need to do that. That has nothing to do with the original thing, so let's commit it separately. Mail.bat. Fix built after removing a spec file. Okay, so that is a bit of a sidetrack. Anyway, now it's building and we are ready to figure out what now to do with this. We don't need to like do recursive exporting in a sense because the types will be linked to each other and you should be able to reach one from the other. But I guess what we need to do is create maybe a separate file. I don't think I want it to be yeah, I think I don't want that to be a file in the same thing because it actually needs to access some more stuff than just what's generated here. So we'll create a separate file and we would say generated exports, and I think it's going to be actually a C file. We might need to oops, apparently my editor crashed. Can I try to ignore it? Apparently not. Okay, so sorry about that. Let me reopen the editor. I did a bunch of work recently on it, so it is just a tiny bit unstable. I need to look into what's going on there. Okay, so we've been here. Let's like this, and right, generated exports. I think that should also work. We can see now here there is a new file. That is great. In that file I need to import some stuff, so I would say include times dot h. Actually, I probably can just do source.h. This is the main thing I want to include. And then we can generate a function that looks something like what we have here, right? So module compiler init. I guess that's what it will get. In fact, we don't even need to pass it the module, we can just pass it a scope. So let's copy that stuff and I'll put it over here. This is what we need to generate. So let's take another printf and okay. So how do I do that? I can do something like this. Right, so we have each string and we need to add a /n. Okay, so that is fine. Here we need to open the brace. I want it indented correctly. Right, so that seems okay. Now we need another one that will actually close these methods. Damn it. Okay, so it looks like I have a problem when I'm trying to insert something when selecting backwards. Okay. I'll try to avoid it for today and then look into it after the video. Hopefully we can still make it work. I'll try to be more conscious of what I'm doing. Okay, so that is like that. Basically what's happening with the editor, I added multiple cursors as you saw supported now, so but apparently I still have a couple of bugs to iron out. That's fine. Okay, so that's like that. We now have a skeleton of the function. Let's see. Okay, that is being built. We can take a look at how it looks like. That seems fine. Right, I don't need the second one. And I will actually include it here. So generated experts.c and we'll see if that is still building. Okay, right. So now it complains that this thing has already a body. So let's change the name of this. Module compiler scope. Define experts. Maybe like this, even compiler scope define experts. And yes, it just gets a compilation and it gets a scope. That seems all right to me. That builds just fine. And we can call this thing right around here. Compilation and compiler scope. And that builds just fine. That is good. And now we can figure out how to generate these things. Okay, so that would mean that we need to do the same thing as we did with other generation. So we go through all the types and let's do the following. Meta type it this. Okay, and if type exported, then we do print scope expert of file and type. Okay, that seems fine. Where do we put it? We can put it somewhere here, doesn't really matter. Take void, print scope export, and we will need to copy one of these things. Right, and copy one of these, but this is actually meta type. Type. So for now, I'm just gonna panic not implemented for basically all the types, and then we will go one by one. So if I try to build now, we haven't marked anything as exported yet, so that makes sense that we are not getting anything done, but we can start with operator fixative, for example. Okay, so this is where we add the type, right? And we can do export. And now we should have a panic, I think. Yes, exactly. Assertion failed, not implemented. Great, that is exactly what I thought would happen. And now we are ready to roll. Let me bookmark a few more locations in the file so I can jump between them much easier. And now we are ready to actually implement one. I don't think I will do all of these on video, but I do want to do a few just so that we can see how this is gonna work out, and we can probably let's do enough to clean up this function and replace it with a generated export. Okay, so enum, great. Okay, I want to steal some function that iterates over an enum. That sounds about right. Okay, lowercase name, that is exactly what we want. And now we can take this function and figure out what will happen. Okay, so one thing is we need to get allocator. Actually, it will be compilation allocator, so that's compilation allocator. I think that's just scope. Source range is compiler source range. This is something that we will %s. This is also %s. And this. And this. Okay, so that seems okay. Fine, actually. Like this, and like this. Cool. So we define an enum, and it needs to be escaped, of course. Okay, no arguments for the first two, and yeah, we just give lowercase. Actually, no, this name is uppercase. So like this, and this name is lowercase. Fine, and these are both lowercase. Okay. This is, I think, all I need to do. Actually, no. I forgot to add /ends in here so it looks nice in the generated output. I think it's very important to have generated output that is quite readable, otherwise debugging it is a big pain. Okay, scope define enum, blah blah blah. Okay, let's see what is gonna explode. Right, it doesn't know what scope define enum is because it is defined in here. Well, I can take this thing and I can just plug it at the end of here. Okay, is that any better? Looks fine. So now the question is if I get rid of this one. Let me take a look. And that looks about right. Yeah, I want to indent it one more level. So something like this. Okay. Looks nice and pretty. And it builds. Let's try to actually run the tests. If I can spell tests, then we can run them. Okay, so that did not break anything. That is perfect. Now we have enums, and that is very, very nice. Okay. Well, let's clean up this function then. I will need to make the value as well. And those are actually easier in a sense because I don't need to iterate over anything or anything like that. I literally can take this one. Yeah, in reality, a number literal was a bit special, so this is how I export constants to the program. So in C world they become macro definitions, and in mass they become proper number literals. Okay, so these ones I will say no, not supported. Okay, and in here I can take this stuff. Well, let's copy the whole thing and then we'll go from there. So scope define value, we need scope, we need value static epoch, saying that that value is like basically always available for the program. This is what it means. I don't think I made a specific video about what epochs are in the compiler. Maybe I should do that. But in a sense, it's a concept that allows me to track that I don't try to access a variable from the wrong epoch. Yeah, for like a better name. So I don't try to get the runtime value from I don't try to get a runtime compile time JIT value from runtime. Yeah, that's probably doesn't explain it very well, so maybe I should do the video. But anyway, that is not the topic for today. For today, I'm doing this. Okay, so slightly literal, right? So basically, we just don't need this stuff. We can then remove this comma, and we are putting that here. I think I will not actually make a space between these, so it'll just go like this. And right. So the issue is I need to have a name, and the names are unfortunately dependent on right. So I will need to do something like this: brain scope, define, and instead of name, I would say const char star name. Yeah, that will have to be something like this. You'll see why in a second. Print scope define, file, and type, hash map. Is it hash map? How do I get to hash map? Okay, it's a hash map name. Okay, gotcha. Type hash map name. Okay, and the same thing goes for here, here, and here. And this is struct tagged. No, I think it's just called union. And this is a function. Okay, and that's it built. Alright, you don't know what the name is, so this goes here and this goes here. Okay, that built, but we are not actually exporting anything just yet. To verify that it actually works, we can try to remove this export, run tests. They should fail with some errors, which apparently they do not. Maybe I ended up actually not using that value. Well, that's fine. Let's try to disable one of these things. Okay, at least now we have a failure, so we know that this all is required. But getting back to our meta program, what I wanted to do is get the value, right? So now we just say export. I think this ended up being pretty neat DSL that I have here. Okay, try to run. It builds, and here we go. So we can define enums, which are sort of special, and I still don't know if that's the right way to handle them. But for now it works, and we can define any kind of other values, which is also very, very nice. Okay, well, I think the one last thing to do is to move these things into here. Actually, no, that is very interesting, because for unions I might need to do extra stuff. Right. So this is actually quite nice. Okay, so good that I went into here. So if I do export of this thing, that will not do what I want it to do. And let me show what I mean. So it will build, that's fine, but I expect that when I export a union, along with the union, I also should export the tag of that union. So mass result tag that is written here. And that should not be pretty hard to do. Barely an inconvenience. Right. So we have this union name, right? And what we need to do is we need to attach a tag to it. Is this there? Join concat. I don't have a way to concat strings here. Apparently I don't. Well, that's fine. I can also do a char buffer, whatever. Send printf. I never remember the order of arguments to send printf. Do I have send printf here? Yes, I do. Right, so I was already doing something like that. Okay. Right. Buffer. And here I just need to say tag. Okay. And that is good. And so I define first the buffer, and then I define the regular thing. Okay, let's try to build this and see where that leads to. I think I need to manually reload that file. Yes. Okay, so that's much better. I export the main value and I export this stuff. I will probably need to also export each of the union subtypes until I figure out what is the better way to deal with it. I will need to do, yeah, so basically that's what was already happening and where I copied this stuff from. So I don't think I need extra level here. Okay, we go to reunion, we get this struct, and right, we already have the buffer, so we don't need this. And we say right, okay. That is good. The only thing is we need to replace this with the buffer. Okay, that's gonna generate a bunch more things, but that's okay. Again, need to reload. Right. In this case, the union only had one extra struct, which is mass result error, and that is good. I think I actually, yeah. We also have one for mass error. Okay, mass result error, and I want to export mass error. So that is also exported, and that one is gonna be large. Let's see if everything works out. I do need to add also force reload button on it or something. Okay, that is pretty good. I'm happy with that. I should be able to now remove all of this stuff. I should be able to remove this one, I think. And we'll see where we are. Right. So I think that just is because I'm not accessing it correctly in here. No, that seems fine. So what's going on? Uh, you are complaining that the error tag is not what you expect. In we can go to the source spec, find this test, and temporarily and this thing. So now we should actually get the real error that is happening. Unable to parse the expression. Interesting. So what did I remove? Group define error. Mass error user defined. Okay. Here, nothing like this is even required. Fine. Oh, I forgot to do this. So I think maybe that's why it is unhappy. Let's add that one. Descriptor. Although I'm not sure, to be honest. But let's just try to add all of the ones that we know over here. So result tag, error tag, they should all be available. And this one, it's a bit awkward, but let's see. Okay. So something is not exactly working out like I would want. I mean, all of this must be exporting the right things. Okay, let's undo this stuff, right? And we will undo the export here and export. Let's just go step by step and see which one is actually getting us into trouble. So now this should be pretty empty. Yep, it is. Oop. Missed. Okay, so that is actually correct because we should not have this check here. So this is working state. Good, fine. Now we can start working one by one. I don't think I even need this one, to be honest. Let's see. No, I do, and this would be then a good case. So yeah. Okay, so this is necessary for the reflection. Reflection, reflection, reflection. Spec. Right. Okay. So it wants to get a descriptor. Good. Let's try to give it a descriptor. Now it will say unable to parse the expression. Fine. Let's open up debugger and see what is actually happening there. Visual Studio is impressively slow today. Okay. Anyhow. Right. that is parse error, so we do need to figure out what is going to happen here. Let's focus on this test and parse error. Isn't it not called parse error? Wait, source value unable to parse the expression. Error tag parse. Okay. So it is one of these ones, but which one? That is an interesting question. Yes, what I can do is I can go into this function and stop here. Okay, let's try to catch this error happening and see what's going on. Okay. So we are in handle dot operator. That is very unsurprising. This is where I would expect us to be. And the thing that it complains about is that it has no idea what the thing is on the left, I guess. And on the left, we have a type. Right. That's because I'm doing something wrong, and in particular in here, print whatever type, scope define. Right, so the problem here is that in union, the tag is actually, okay, let's do it like this. So this tag is also union, oh sorry, it's an enum, and I should do the following. Take this, name, yeah, something like that. And in here, that would be file type enum name. And in here, that should be buffer. Right. So if you look at the exports now, you can see the difference. So for the tag, now we have properly the enum. And since it compiles, it means that it is indeed an enum. Okay. So let's try to run the test again. They are passing. We can remove the focus of the test. And everything is great. I think that was the problem that we were having. So we can try to move more of the stuff outside and see where we are. So this is fine. Let's do mass error. Mass error. Okay, expert. Fine. Test. Okay, yeah, so I think that was it. That was our big problem. And the final one, I need to close this, otherwise I cannot save files, because Visual Studio. Okay, mass result. We are right here. Export, and closing brace. Right? And that's actually, and the reason it didn't fail, even though this here, because right now I don't actually check for overloads on non-function, which I should be, but that's a separate topic in itself, which is something I should do later on. Okay, do we actually care about this one? I don't think we do, but we'll see. Yeah, we don't actually use this, so let's clean it up while we are cleaning up all the scope stuff. Right, so I think this is pretty cool. Now I'm able to export whatever I need just by adding export here, and it does what we want to do. So this is very, very nice. I think that is basically all I wanted to do for today. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you next time.